Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Hua Chongyang would never believe him, regardless of his answer. Even if he said he was not from the Penglai sect, and the Nether Sect did not have any quarrel with the Penglai sect, he did not think Hua Chongyang would trust his words since they were merely strangers who had come together. It was only natural that they guarded against each other. For these reasons, he felt it was enough to just give a vague answer. Hua Chongyang pointed in the opposite direction of the white swordsman and said, "The people from the Taishu Academy are here as well. It's quite the lineup. Are you afraid?" "Why would I be afraid? If we fight, there's no telling who's going to emerge victorious," Hua Chongyang replied. "It's good to be confident, but overconfidence can make you conceited." Lu Zhou saw this kind of excessive self-confidence in Yu Shangrong and Si Wuya as well. Sometimes, their confidence would help them, but it would pull them down as well. Among his disciples, if he had to choose one who was the best at carrying out missions, he would certainly pick his fourth disciple, Ming Shirin. Up until now, Ming Shirin had never let him down. Hua Chongyang replied with a smile, "It's not overconfidence, it's self-confidence. Self-confidence stems from strength. Aren't you confident as well, Senior Lu?" Lu Zhou did not reply to him even though he wanted to say he was brimming with confidence. He looked at the still empty wooden platform and knew the main characters had yet to arrive. Feeling bored, he said, "Let's talk about the person who's going to be sacrificed. I don't know much about her, aside from her ability to speak the tongue of beasts and that she's musically gifted. It's said that she was seen blowing on a conch as she sat on the shoreline. The sound attracted many vicious beasts from the sea who attacked the fishermen. Naturally, all this is hearsay. I can't verify them," Hua Chongyang replied. Initially, Lu Zhou did not pay much attention to the woman. However, it was hard for him not to notice someone with such a special ability. Her ability was so special that she was being used as a sacrifice. "Does no one know where she came from?" Lu Zhou asked. "Nobody knows if she's an other tribesman or if she's from Great Yen. There are those who can talk to beasts among the other tribesmen. That's nothing special. However, it's, indeed, rare that she's able to incite ferocious beasts into action," Lu Zhou said. While Lu Zhou and Hua Chongyang conversed, the crowd was growing impatient. Some of them even began to shout due to their impatience. "What's taking so long? Bring the demon woman here. Hey! Everyone's been waiting for ages. The citizens of Jing Province City are watching. The people won't be able to eat and sleep in peace as long as the demon woman is alive. Hurry up." Under the urging of the crowd, a middle-aged man dressed in peculiar clothes stepped forward. He wore a brocade hat, and his face was painted in vibrant colors. His sound wave rolled over the crowd, traveling far since it contained primal chi. "Order, order." Then, he looked at the sun for a moment before he said, "The time has come. Bring forth the demon woman." As soon as he finished speaking, the heaven worship platform fell silent. Everyone turned to look at the path on the left. A slender figure could be seen walking on the path accompanied by two figures. The moment light hit the slender body, the crowd gasped in shock. If they were unaware, they would not have associated the girl they were seeing with the demon woman. Although her clothes were tattered, her black hair was messy, she had patches of dirt on her face, she was barefooted, and her hands were bound by a rope. These did not mask her exquisite beauty at all. Her most eye-catching feature was her pair of big, shiny, ink-black eyes. They seemed almost lost under her long eyelashes. The words "Miss Conch" appeared in many of their minds. Many among the crowd thought of the same term, Miss Conch. The woman had successfully attracted everyone's attention, everyone was looking at her at this moment. Thud. 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 The sound of her walking on the wooden platform rang crisply in the air. For a time, this was the only sound that could be heard on the heaven worship platform. When she finally walked to the center of the platform, the crowd broke into an uproar. Hua Chongyang and Lu Zhou turned to look. Lu Zhou had been curious since earlier. He was shocked when he discovered the Eye of Truth did not provide him with any information. What's the meaning of this? Lu Zhou wondered if the system was deliberately making his undercover mission more difficult for him. Based on what he could tell at this moment, the woman had no primal chi fluctuation, nor did she possess the aura of a cultivator. If that were the case, how did she incite the beasts to attack people? At the same time, the crowd looked at each other before they shifted their eyes to the girl. Then, they began to shout. Demon woman. The girl seemed even more confused. It was as though she did not understand what was going on. Strangely, as confused as she did not seem surprised, afraid, or nervous. It was clear she was just perplexed. More lost than before. At this moment, the old male priest on the heaven worship platform looked down and said, "Bring her here." Understood. The two cultivators sent their energy out to prop the girl up on the wooden platform. Then the old priest waved his horsetail whisk. The rope circled thrice around the girl and bound her to the wood. The scorching sun shone down on the girl. Her disheveled hair, the dirt on her face, her old and tattered clothes, and her fair exposed feet did nothing to obscure her beauty. In fact, it accentuated her lofty, out-of-this-world charm. Do you know why she's being tied up? Lu Zhou asked. I don't. Hua Chongyang shook his head. Do you think she's a demon woman? Lu Zhou asked again. She doesn't look like one. Why not? Gut feeling. Hua Chongyang remembered his own mission. Naturally, he would not forget why he was here. He asked, "What do you think, Senior Lu?" I think she's the demon woman, Lu Zhou said. Why is that? Lu Zhou placed his hands on his back and slowly said, "She's not surprised, not flustered, not panicking, not afraid, not cowering. Do you think ordinary girls can maintain their composure like her? She has no primal chi fluctuations, how could she command vicious beasts? She's barely 16. How can you explain the fact that nobody knows where she's from or even her name?" Lu Zhou's words rendered Hua Chongyang speechless. Upon seeing this, Lu Zhou only smiled and no longer said anything. Hua Chongyang was clearly here for this little girl. There was no need to ask further questions. The old priest on the heaven worship platform looked at the sun again and said in a clear voice, "The time has come. Let us worship heaven now." Dong. The bell tolled, signifying the ritual had begun. Most of everyone looked at the old priest. On the other hand, the people from the Hanku branch and the Taishu Academy kept staring at each other, but nobody made the first move. It was as though they were merely here to supervise the ritual. The old priest loudly said, "I'm Yangping of Breeze Mountain. I hereby purify you of your sins in the name of the heavens. You'll have your ashes forever scattered, you'll be covered in flames, you'll sink to the bottom of the ocean. Your soul will be tired, and your will be tested. Sins cannot tolerate souls, and evil cannot tolerate ugliness. Preaching is useless. Broken bones and a scorched body is the best punishment. Let it burn." After his long speech, he waved his hand. Everyone widened their eyes in anticipation of the wood catching fire. Whoosh. Embers glowed as a fire started. At this moment, the girl looked down, clearly puzzled. Boom. At this moment, a member of the Taishu Academy sent an energy palm out and scattered the firewood at the base of the cross today. The sudden move from the Taishu Academy member stunned Yangping, the old priest. He looked at the scattered firewood on the heaven worship platform with a furious expression on his face. He pointed at the people from the Taishu Academy and said, "How dare you? Who are you to go against the will of the heavens?" The person who made a move said in a clear voice, "I am Taishu Academy's first disciple, Jiangrani. It's only natural for me to take action when there are lies in your words." Yangping snorted before he said, "You don't get to decide what's right or wrong. You'll have to see if the people agree with you." He really did not expect someone to cause trouble at this juncture. Over the years, he had never had any issues conducting the rituals of Jing Province City in the past. The only difference this time was they were using a living person as a sacrifice, so the crowd, which consisted of many cultivators, was bigger. However, he was not worried. His confidence came from the knowledge that he had the support of the common folk. Although the common folk was as weak as ants, only cultivators who were out of their minds would openly oppose the will of the people. After all, the mortals were the foundation of cultivators. They provided the cultivation world with new blood. Even the emperor had to bend to the will of the people. The cultivators were no different. Openly attacking civilians would only earn one scorn and hostility from other cultivators. This had long been an unwritten rule in the cultivation world. As the old priest had expected, the common folk began to rebuke the member from the Taishu Academy. The demon woman should be killed. Kill the demon woman. You shouldn't defend the demon woman. The Taishu Academy's first disciple, Jiangrani, said in a loud voice, "You're a Taoist, and yet, you're talking about the rituals of the other tribes. How dare you sacrifice a living human and fool the masses for your own personal gains? Who gave you the courage to do this?" Yang Ping's face darkened as he said, seething, "How dare you? The Tao is before the celestial emperor. Primal Qi gives rise to all things, and yet, is insubstantial." Jiangrani said loudly, "I've told you that I'm from the Taishu Academy. You're a Taoist, how dare you spout nonsense? Sins cannot tolerate souls, evil cannot tolerate ugliness? Who taught you that?" The cultivators present on the scene felt that Jiangrani's words made sense when they heard them. No matter how loudly the people shouted, all they could do was make noise. They could not alter the wills of the cultivators. Cultivation theories in Great Yen were founded by thought. Instructions based on those theories were used for cultivation. The Confucian, Buddhist, and Taoist societies did not have such rituals. Instead, it seemed similar to the witchcraft of the other tribes. Cultivators who joined academies would be even more aware of this. Jiangrani's speech seemed to make the masses give pause. Meanwhile, Yang Ping took a step backward. Clap. 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 At the same time, the white-robed cultivators from the Henku branch who were standing across him applauded. The applause was so abrupt that it easily drew everyone's attention. As expected of the Taishu Academy's first disciple. I agree with him. This old priest bears the physical body of a great Yen citizen, and yet, he possesses the filthy soul and distasteful thoughts of the other tribesmen. I propose that we kill him first. Kill him. The members from the Henku branch shouted in unison in voices that were so loud that it seemed as though they could shock the heavens. With the primal Qi in their voices, the sound wave resounded through the entire area. The Taishu Academy's first disciple, Jiangrani, cupped his fists and said, "Thank you for your support, everyone." He looked around himself before he faced the people again and said, "My dear people, don't be fooled by this man. Open your eyes and see. Is that little girl, bound on the cross, a demon lady?" On the wooden platform, the girl blinked her huge eyes curiously as she watched the proceedings. Jiangrani continued to say, "You old thing. You're treating the life of another human with as much worth as a stack of hay. You should confess to your own crimes now." Yang Ping took another step back. When he saw that the situation had turned unfavorable, he pushed away from the ground and leaped up into the sky. If he had chosen to stay and defend himself with words, he might still be able to redeem himself. After all, the accusations hurled at him were without proof at the moment. However, now that he had chosen to flee, his guilt was apparent. The people were shocked as well when they saw the old priest fleeing. Running away? Zhang Can, an elder from the Henku branch elder, drew his sword and leaped into the air. His primal Qi surged and 5 energy swords spun around his sword. He pushed both palms out, and the energy swords shot out. Bam! 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 Yang Ping was only a low-rank cultivator who had not even entered the Brahmin Sea realm. In just a blink of an eye, the 5 energy swords pierced him from behind. He cried out wretchedly as he fell from the sky. Zhang Can shouted, "A person with the ambition of wild wolves like him should submit to the rule of law and confess his crimes." Zhang Can shouted. "Good. Nice kill. Jiang Rini, the Taishu Academy's first disciple, looked at the girl who was bound to the wooden cross and said in a clear voice, "Under my master's orders, I'll bring her back to the academy to be dealt with." Hold up. Zhang Can raised a hand. Do you have a problem? Who gives the Taishu Academy the right to take her away? What do you treat the Henke branch as? Zhang Can coldly said. It was quite clear the reason for their presence here. Something stirred within Jiang Rini. His gaze was fierce as he said, "Is the Henku branch trying to meddle in this matter as well?" The disciples of the Taishu Academy had already gotten into position. Zing. 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 The Henku branch cultivators unsheathed their swords. Those who have no business here should stand back. The common folk could tell something was amiss, and they retreated like the receding tide until they were out of the heaven worship platform's bounds. At this moment, Lu Zhou and Hua Chongyang were the only ones who stood unmoving from their spot. For this reason, they stood out. How could they not draw attention to themselves at this time? The members of the Henku branch and Taishu Academy looked at the duo. Unrelated people should scram. Zhang Can shouted. Hua Chongyang shook his head. I have a better suggestion. Zhang Can and Jiang Rini exchanged a look. Why don't we ask her for her opinion? Hua Chongyang pointed at the girl on the wooden cross. Everyone was fighting over her, and yet, nobody paid any heed to her opinion. Upon hearing Hua Chongyang's words, the members of the Henku branch and Taishu Academy exchanged glances. I agree. Me, too. The representatives of both sides looked at the girl on the wooden cross with expectant expressions. Jiang Rini looked at the girl and said, "Don't be afraid. What do you say to coming back to the Taishu Academy with me? If you follow me, I'll give you anything you want." He struggled to maintain his expression. He was afraid of scaring the girl. The girl cast her gaze downward. She looked at Jiang Rini for a mere second before she shook her head. Upon seeing this, Zhang Can laughed loudly. He said, "Jiang Rini, you should give up while you can. Little girl, return to the Henku branch with me. The sect master will personally teach you how to cultivate. The senior disciples of the Henku branch will be your helpers." The girl glanced at Zhang Can before she shook her head again. The members of the Taishu Academy laughed as well in an act of revenge. At this moment, Hua Chongyang asked in a clear voice as he looked at the girl, "Miss, what's your name?" Lu Zhou remained silent as he stood in his spot. However, his interest in the girl was growing. Who was she that the other sects were fighting over her? They even gave her special treatment and promised her so many benefits. Hua Chongyang's question drew everyone's attention again. It suddenly dawned on everyone that they did not even know the girl's name after talking so much. All of them shifted their eyes to her. The girl shook her head again, seemingly at a loss. She struggled to free her hands. Since the rope was already loosened by the energy blast. With a firm tug, it fell to the ground easily. Then, she raised the item in her hand and softly said, "Conk." "Conk?" Hua Chongyang smiled. "All right, I'll call you Conk. Will you come with me?"